Welcome back to Ravenous Babble. My name is Dan, and today I'll be babbling on about how I'm preparing for Pro Tour Baltimore and things that you should keep in mind if you're thinking about attending the event. First and foremost, there's one very important thing that you need to figure out ahead of time before proceeding with any other preparations, and that's your accommodations. Have you booked your hotel, maybe an Airbnb, or are you coming down for the day? Whatever it is, make sure you have accommodations lined up. At this point, if you don't have this, best of luck. You'll totally be able to find something, but it's likely going to cost you more and be less ideal. I went ahead months ago and got an idea for who would be going to the Pro Tour from our local scene, and once I got a solid head count, I worked with my wife to reserve an Airbnb for our accommodations. It should be pretty cozy since there's a bunch of different rooms, there's queen-size beds, so couples don't need to worry about sleeping in different beds. There's bunk beds, which is kind of funny, but also very convenient considering the situation. There's a huge dining room table, which is going to be great for last-minute reps, or maybe late-night drafting, or just hanging out, just having a good time. You know, we're all on vacation, so enjoy it, right? Honestly, having been planning this for a while, I'm really looking forward to Pro Tour Baltimore weekend. It's gonna be a blast. Anyway, so let's get into it. So one of the big things that I'm preparing to bring down to Baltimore is cards to be signed. Cards to be signed by the artists that are going to be in attendance, which consist of Mark Poole, Steve Argyle, Isawardo Varianto, very sorry if I butchered that, and Federico Musetti. Now, make sure you have all the cards you want to get signed. Not only, should you be going through their portfolios, if this is something you're interested in, to see which cards they've done, but make sure the cards you bring with you are cards that they have done. I've got a little funny story about when I went up to the SCG Con in the Meadowlands in North Jersey, earlier this year, or the end of last year, I forget when it was recent, but Mark Poole was up there. And I've played Magic, I still do play Magic from time to time, and I wanted him to sign my Urza lands, right, from Chronicles. I used to have Antiquities ones, but I had to sell them at some point and downgrade to white bordered, but that's a cycle of lands that I'm very fond of because you run 4 in a playset if you're not familiar with Magic, and they had 4 different arts for each of these, and it's a series of 3 different cards, so 12 in total that get played together. So it's 12 different pieces of art, and I thought that was the coolest thing, and I really wanted to get them signed. So I go to him, and I present the Urza's Towers, and he gets ready to start signing them, and then I present the Urza's Power Plants, and he says, "Oh, these aren't mine," and I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" And I look at it, and it says Mark Tidin, not Mark Poole. So I guess I looked at the towers first, saw Mark Poole, and then looked at the power plant briefly and saw Mark and was like, cool, he did all 12, and didn't even look at the mines, which are done by Anson Maddox. Not even a Mark. He was real cool about it though. He was a really cool guy to talk to, so I'm pretty excited to see him again. Luckily, Mark Tidin was also at that event, so I got him to sign the power plants, and then I looked Anson Maddox up online, and he does do signatures through the mail, so I was successful in getting all 12 of them signed. And it's a little collection I'm very proud of having. So speaking about Mark Poole, since I met him up in the Meadowlands, I do have most of his cards signed, but let's take a look at his portfolio. So he's got a lot of stuff from Tales of Aria, and then he's got a little bit here and there. He's got some Uprising, some Dynasty, and he's got 3 cards in Outsiders, which he actually told me ahead of time that he would have cards in Outsiders, so I was pretty hyped about that when I spoke with him in the Meadowlands. I didn't think he'd have the Fabled. Since I'm so big on signatures, and I'm also trying to play Azuri, I knew I had to get the Fabled before I went down, and I really wanted to get a cold foil one. Now this has been the bane of my existence for the past few weeks, because I've found some people willing to part with their cold foil Plague Hive, but they're usually grossly off-center, and I didn't really care for that. If I'm gonna get something very high-end, I really want to try and get something at least reasonable, in terms of appearance. So we're talking centering, we're talking print lines, the basics. So after striking out numerous times and reaching out to literally anyone I saw pull a cold foil Plague Hive on Twitter, I finally think I have something lined up. I'm 99% sure that this is going to pan out, unless something happens. He's flying in from Utrecht to Pro Tour Baltimore, so we'll meet up, make the deal, do the trade, and I'll have my cold foil Plague Hive to get signed. So it's very exciting. Quiver of Rustling Leaves is another one that he's done, and I actually just got my cold foil in the mail today from a seller on TCG Player that's located within the tri-state area, Mission TCG. This guy is awesome, he's very accommodating, and he got that card shipped out real quick. Thank you, Mission TCG. I will be shopping from you again, and I can't recommend him more. Mark Poole also did Virulent Touch, also known as Pox Malone, for those who are in the know. I need to ask him if this was based on Post Malone at all. I'm sure he's gotten an earful about it already, but I mean, I gotta ask, right? For this, I'll probably only be getting the red signed. I can't see getting the other signed. So up until now, he's mostly only had Majestics or Legendaries or whatever, one-ofs, you know, so not a full cycle of pitch. So when it comes to a full cycle, I mean, it really takes a lot for me to want to get every single one of them signed. So we're probably just going to be getting the red signed here because I'm not trying to break the bank that hard, you know? Next up, we're going to be talking about Steve Argyle. So Steve Argyle, look at that. Viserai, my OG main hero. Honestly, still one of my main heroes. I mean, I'm trying to make Azuri my main, but, you know, once he gets some tech, I'm probably going to be right back on the horse. I would be super excited about the Viserai thing if I hadn't traded for one that's already signed by him. So I guess I don't need to worry about that. But everything else on this list I have obtained. Most of it I already had, but I had to go out of my way to get a Cold Foil Young Icelander and Cold Foil Kraken's Aether Vein, just to make sure I had those as well to get signed. Probably going to get a play set of Kyloria signed as well. And I was lucky enough to pull the Quiver of Abyssal Depths, so that's going well. Next up, we've got Isawardo Varianto. So sorry again if I butchered it. He's got quite a bit. A lot from Monarch, Tales of Aria. We got some Uprising, some Dynasty, and some Outsiders. So he's got quite a bit of art, and I was pretty excited to see him there because there's a lot of Assassin art in here, and I would love to get some of my Assassin stuff signed. I did go ahead and get Extended Art Phoenix forms, so those are getting signed. I have Cold Foil Frost Hex, got some Battering Bolts, Foil Heaven's Claw Red. Oh my god, that card in foil, if you haven't seen it, is gorgeous. I've got Cold Foil Shock Charmers, Rainbow Foil Fulminates, some other odds and ends that are in here, but he's got quite a few cards, and I can't get everything signed. I have a Cold Foil Arachne Huntsman. I'll get the Cold Foil Arachne from the Calling. Have a playset of Vipox, BIOS Update, Infiltrate. Not getting all these signed, but you know, I have a good amount of it. I'll probably be bringing all of it with me, but I'm not sure what I'm getting signed yet. I need to review, I need to see what the prices are like. You know, there's a lot of things to consider here. Here's something along the lines of my Mark Poole story. Please note that he's only done Codex of Inertia. He didn't do Blood Rot, and he didn't do Frailty. So don't go up to him with your Codex of Frailty or Codex of Blood Rot and Inertia and put all three of them down. Just because they're books doesn't mean he did all three of them. And to follow this up, they announced the final artist that would be in attendance. And of course, it's Federico Musetti. Look at this portfolio. There's so much. There's no way. As soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh man. This trip's gonna cost so much money.
I am never gonna financially recover from this.
But you know, it is what it is. I gotta pick and choose. I'm thinking the Great Library of Solana, and in that same vein, the Plague Hive, like I mentioned before, and then there's the Blood of the Drukai. So might as well, right? They're fabled cards, so some people might be a little adverse to getting them signed, but these are cards that are going to stay in my collection. I'll always have one of every fabled card, with the exception of CNC and anything that follows that design. Every functional, mechanically unique and functional fabled card, I will always have one copy of them, and they won't leave my collection. So I don't mind getting them signed, and to the best of my knowledge, they will still be legal, even if Federico's signature takes up the whole text box for the most part, like 80% of it, 90% of it. But yeah, there's a lot else going on here. I did get a Rainbow Foil Urser. Unfortunately, cold foils were a little too much. I've got my Oakenolds. It's the big things I'm going to get signed, really. I don't know if I'll just get my one foil pulverized signed, or if I'll get a playset signed. Tumultai, the Mentors will be really cool to get signed. Emperor. Ice Eternal Extended Art, definitely. I don't know, however, if I want to get Scale Peeler signed. I do have a cold foil of each dagger, left and right, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like I need to get the dagger signed. I don't know why. Maybe that opinion will change. I'll have them all with me, so it's fine. I think it might be more along the lines of just having one set of the daggers signed, but not the others, because the other artists aren't in attendance. Might be the confliction that's going on within me. Yeah, I don't know. But the left-facing scale peeler, I actually want to swap that. I have a Japanese print one and I want a Belgian print. So if anyone out there would like to swap that, if you don't care, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't care, for lack of better words, don't give a shit, but I do. It bothers the hell out of me. I couldn't tell you why. I was just born this way. Just some internal conflict happening. But if you have a Belgian print and you don't care, I would be very happy to swap it with you and also throw something in for your trouble. I have another card that you would want. So if you have one and you want to just get some free stuff, hit me up. The Trench of Sunken Treasure, that's another one that I definitely want to get signed. Give and Take, that's something I forgot about. I need to get one more Give and Take to get my playset signed. Asvali, gotta get those signed. Tumultai, there's a lot here. I definitely can't get everything signed. Cold foil Helm of the Sharp Eye, cold foil Galaxy Black. I've got a rainbow foil Chain and a rainbow foil Lexi. So, you know, there's a lot to consider. But yeah, I've had some conflicting feelings about getting a lot of this stuff signed, and I think it boils down to how intrusive, and I'm not saying that to be like mean, it's just a good way to phrase it. I think it just depends on how intrusive the artist's signature is. For instance, Mark Poole's is usually very non-intrusive. It's like usually like kind of on the top of the text box, maybe like right here roundabout. Federico's, if he signs this, it's going to be like this whole text box. So I think it bothers me a little bit, but I think it's something I'll get over. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that maybe I don't know what a lot of these cards do 100% mechanically. But I've always been a fan of signatures, so I don't know why that would change now just because of the way, or rather the size of the signature. I don't know. But yeah, so speaking of signatures, someone very important is going to be in attendance at this event, and that's James White. Now, more than anything, I really am hoping that I'm going to be able to meet James White, even if that line is like 2 hours long like it was at Worlds from what I heard. Really want to meet him, shake his hand, take a picture with him if I can, and if it's not too much of a bother, get him to sign a card. Now, I did put a poll up on Twitter because I wasn't sure which card I wanted to get signed, and my options were Heart of Fyendal, Rainbow Foil Fyendal Spring Tunic, and the Krunic, which is the non-foil Fyendal Spring Tunic from Crucible of War. Poll-wise, Heart of Fyendal won out by like a large margin. But in hindsight, if I'm going to get 3 Fabled cards signed, Blood of the Drakai, Great Library of Solana, and Plague Hive, maybe I should save the Heart of Fyendal for that artist. That's my logic at least. So it kind of comes down to the Fyendal Spring Tunics. Do I save the Rainbow Foil Spring Tunic for that artist and get him to sign the Krunic? Because I think that's where I'm at right now, but I'm not sure. What do you think? Out of those 3 cards, what would you get signed? And if you had to pick between just the Krunic and the Rainbow Foil Tunic, what would you get signed? You know, I know, I'm presenting a lot of questions here. I'm sorry about that. Someone else had actually brought up that I should get Ravenous Rabble signed, which I think is a pretty cool idea, but I feel like maybe I would want to get a playset of them signed, a playset of Reds. Does that sound weird? And also, I don't really want to bug him with 3 signatures if he's going to even be signing anything at all, you know? I'd rather get something iconic. And yes, you know, it would be iconic. It's my namesake, right? But Fyendal Spring Tunic or Heart of Fyendal, those are iconic. Those are like the Black Lotus tier of the game, you know? Those are the memorable cards that in the future we'll look back, it'll be really nostalgic, and having one of those cards signed by James White will be really memorable and just a really cool piece to have in my collection. All right, let's move on to the next topic. So we're going to talk about the player's reception. All right, we're going to get into some actual event happenings of the weekend. So I'm super hyped about this. I'm really hoping to meet a bunch of different people, like devs, content creators, pro players, just people in the community that I've learned to love so much. And when I went to buy my ticket for the calling and saw that I could spend an extra $50 to go to this, it was a no-brainer. And I've tried to convince other people that I play with at locals to do it as well, because it's gonna be great. It's gonna be dope. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some food and drink there, something to make even just it slightly worth the extra money, but also it's the experience, And we're probably gonna get our first look at Dusk Till Dawn. That's gonna be amazing. They did say that might get streamed this time around, but we'll see when the time comes. I want to see it in person. I want to be there when they maybe reveal the next Light Illusionist. How hype would that be if you're in the room for that? There have been so many reveals over the years for games that I've played that have been significant and been hype, and I've always been hyped for them, but I've always just watched it on YouTube. I've never been there for the reveal, and I always see the hype. I see the people there. I see how hyped they are, and I want to experience that. Whatever they have to offer, I want to be there for it. And there could be all kinds of announcements. At the last players reception, they announced the collaboration between Legend Story Studios and the professor of Tolarian Community College for some kind of project that we still know nothing about. We could get more information on that. They also announced the Prism statue, which is really cool. And in hindsight, if you look on the website, there's also a Prism Marvel cold foil that looks like it comes with the statue, but we still don't know how we get the statue. We could find out more about that. Hell, that could be a prize wall item, and this could be the first event with that. You never really know what to expect when it comes to announcements from Legend Story Studios. It feels like they always have a surprise in their back pocket. We could get a preview of PvE, maybe, probably not. I know they are working really hard on that, and they probably don't want to release any information until they're absolutely ready. So, probably not going to hold out hope for that. But you get what I'm saying. It could be anything, and I want to be there to experience that hype in person. Who knows, maybe I'll even end up going out to drink with some people that are really well known. I don't know. I might not be coming home that night till 2 or 3 a.m. Who knows? I might be dead tired on Friday, but that doesn't matter because I'm not in the Pro Tour. So speaking of gameplay, I will be playing in the calling. I didn't qualify for the Pro Tour, and I'm not saying that I have a negative mindset. I'm gonna try my best, but I'm not expecting much in terms of results. I'll say it, There's 2 reasons for that. So we'll start with the fact that I'll either be on Azuri or Viserai. I've got a bunch of experience on Viserai. I don't think he's in a very favorable position at the moment in the meta. There's a lot of Lexi, there's a lot of Oldhim, there's a lot of ice in the meta, and Viserai doesn't play well with ice. Whereas Azuri, yeah, she's new, so the results she's putting up may strictly be because people don't know how to play against her or haven't adapted to her, but she might have a fighting chance. She actually has some disruption that I can utilize in this meta. The issue lies in the fact that I haven't had time to get reps on Azuri, and when I tell you I probably have 10 games or less under my belt, I'm not lying, and that doesn't feel good. So depending on how much I can crunch in the next week, we'll see. I just need to get my fundamentals down with the hero, and I think I'll be good to go. I have a decent amount of experience in the game as it is, but there's definitely some fundamentals that I need to get down with Azuri. Things I need to arsenal, things I should never arsenal. I've definitely run into those situations already, and I need to make sure that they are solidified in my brain, along with some of the play lines like shredding a defending card and having that resolved before I use Azuri's ability to put, say, a Command and Conquer into play, so that way the Command and Conquer actually gets through. With Shred it has to be an assassin card that's being defended, but as long as you order things properly, stuff like that can work. Knowing when to throw my Nerve Scalpel in response to a defense reaction, which on-hits are the most important to make sure they hit, to use the Nerve Scalpel in that situation. Fundamentals, basic stuff. You because the play lines I don't think are very complicated. It's just knowing when to try and gain some ground, I think. Probably got some Missouri players out there like, this guy's an idiot. But yeah, I gotta get my fundamentals down. But, you know, as much as I don't want to play Visceri in this meta, I'm gonna bring both, and I think I'm gonna play it by ear. We'll see what happens. But yes, I'm gonna try and get some Missouri practice in, because I would really like to play her at this event. So, before I wrap this up, I do want to address the elephant in the room, which is Baltimore itself. I do not want to instill fear into anyone, and I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I do want people to make sure that they're aware of their surroundings when walking back and forth between the convention center and wherever you're staying. You know, just be aware, walk in pairs or groups, and you'll be totally fine. Just don't be the one guy with a huge backpack traveling alone who looks like he's lost, okay? Because people don't care what's in your backpack, but there's a lot of stuff in that backpack and they're gonna take it. And all of this is mostly just a concern after sundown, by the way. Like, it feels like the town transforms in a not so good way, but if you're in groups, you got nothing to worry about, you know? Just don't go wandering the streets, you know? Also, and this applies literally anywhere and everywhere, but don't leave your cards in your car. And if you actually have to, put them in your trunk for the love of God, and only walk around with what you need. Don't carry every single deck you own and 3 trade binders if you're just going to play in the Calling that day, or going to play in the Battle Hardened that day. You know, if you are going to get some cards signed, yeah, have those with you. But don't bring 5 CC decks with you if you know you're going to be playing 8 rounds of a specific deck. You know? That's asking for trouble. All in all, just remember, have fun. This event is going to be incredible. It's going to be memorable. And if you see me, stop by and say hi. I'll admit, I'm extremely shy, but don't let that discourage you. Stop by, say hi. I will really, really appreciate it. I promise. I may or may not be wearing my Ravenous Babble hoodie. It's a black hoodie with my logo on it. Really depends on how hot it is in the convention center. I would like to try and order a shirt if I can, but I don't know if it'll be here in time with my logo on it, just so I stand out, because I know I'm not in a lot of my videos. My face isn't in a lot of videos, and that will be changing a bit moving forward. I've just got to get my setup set up. But yeah, Thursday I'll be at the players reception. Friday I'll be wandering around a lot. I'll be getting there really early for the meet and greet with James White, and then probably gonna see the artists for a good while throughout the day. Maybe do a side event, don't know. Gonna play it by ear. Saturday I'll be in the Calling. Sunday probably gonna scrub out of the Calling, so likely gonna be wandering around again. But yeah, I guess until next time, stay safe, keep playing great games, and I'll catch you in Baltimore. See ya. Shout out to the Ravenous Babble patrons who keep the channel going. If you would like to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/RavenousBabble and see which tier is best suited for you.